Hey, today I'm going to give you a quick run through of the Omnata Sync administration skill that we've just released for Snowflake Cortex code. You can find this skill at the Omnata Labs GitHub and the Omnata Sync administration skill repo. Link will be in the description. So we've designed the skill around assisting you with the day-to-day operations of Omnata. The skill understands the structure of all the underlying tables, which are directly accessible to Cortex, and it understands our terminology and our docs, so it knows what to do really quickly without having to discover all of the tables. One of the biggest value unlocks is when there's a failure. Maybe something's happened at the endpoint, maybe something's happened in your Snowflake account, something that's unexpected. The Omnata skill will investigate the error message that's presented, use its general knowledge of the endpoint into whether that could be solved with configuration, and then it will delve further down into the event logs. So the Snowflake event table is notoriously difficult to query. There's a huge number of records. There's a lot of different flags and a lot of different categories. Querying it by hand can take quite a long time. So Cortex is a massive unlock here. It goes in understanding the context, it knows what it's looking for, and it can collate all of the events around a sync job or a connection attempt, and it can give you a deeper insight into what's going on. It can collate that information, create a support ticket, and then you can send that to Omnata as a support handoff with all of the information provided up front, rather than having to do a back and forth to gather information at the start of a ticket. So you can self-install from the GitHub README. There's instructions on how to install it, both into the Cortex code in Snowsight. So that is the pop-out in Snowsight, and also if you use the CLI. So let's start off with at the top of what it can do. So monitoring sync health, outbound, inbound syncs, understanding failed records, error patterns, that sort of thing. This is all pretty basic stuff that you can see in the UI, and you can also just query it using SQL. But Cortex is a shortcut to this. So the reason that this is all accessible to Cortex is because of the way the Omnata app is architected. So you have your Omnata Sync engine, which is the main UI, that's the core application. All of the monitoring views are contained in this data views schema. So we can see connections, syncs, sync runs. All of that is directly accessible by Cortex inside of Snowflake. We've taught Cortex how to use these tables, what our terminology is, cross-referenced it with our docs. So let's start off by asking it something simple. So we've already got the skill installed into the workspace. Let's just ask it about some recently failed syncs. So tell me if any syncs have failed recently. And so pretty ambiguous prompt there, but it's going to read the reference of how to monitor sync status, and then it's going to understand, well, it needs to get their health states, and it's going to give us a little summary. Again, this is pretty simple. This is something that we can see just in the UI, so we're not advancing too much just by doing that sort of query, but I'm going to show you how much more useful it gets the further that you go into the investigation. We've got, as in this, in the UI, we can see we've got this failed sync. So the contacts to our Salesforce sandbox has failed, and that's returned at the top of this list. So 25,000 records have hit a failure. So let's investigate the contacts to Salesforce sync further. And the big unlock, like I described, is investigating the actual event logs. So the error message is one thing. So the endpoint's going to return an error message, which we can probably see if we just click into the UI again. That's going to give us some clues as to why this has failed. But if it's something else, so maybe this is a really cryptic error message, Maybe it's returning something that you don't really understand. Well, that's where Cortex is this huge unlock, especially in the way that you can actually see the sequence of events around a sync or a connection attempt, and it can help to investigate what's the underlying cause of any failure. So it's reading the references, event table diagnostics, and then monitoring an outbound sync, and it's doing some investigation work. So we'll just let this keep on ticking, and it's got some results. So this is actually an error that I knew would happen. It's correctly picked up, and this is where the skill is using its general knowledge of Salesforce as well. It's looking for the Salesforce ID, not just this random number that we have in our Snowflake table. So then it goes on to the event table findings, said it's executed with no platform errors. So there's nothing to do there, and then it's going to provide us a recommendation. This is basically a configuration issue. So it's telling us what we need to reconfigure. We need to change that source table. So there was nothing found in the event logs this time, but you can sort of see how this is useful. So the final part of this is maybe you've got some problem that you can't resolve either through the recommendations or the errors are showing some other error that you don't understand. You have to submit a support ticket to Omnata. This is where there's another huge time saving. So you can ask the Omnata skill to write you a support ticket. The skill will go through and collect all of the relevant information, attach that to the ticket and send it over to us. Cortex code just takes care of that preliminary work, and so should massively speed up resolution times. Let's just force it to write a support ticket. And it's going to read that reference file and write a support ticket that the user can submit through our portal. So we've asked it to create a support ticket, and there are a couple of steps in that reference for it to do. So it's going to check for any outages on the status pages first, and then it's going to collate all of that information together, including the errors, anything from the event logs. But it still says, it gives you a note that this is likely self-serviceable. You just need to change the configuration. But we've forced it to do it anyway. So let's have a look at this support ticket that it's written. So it's given us all of our region information. It's summarized the issue, and then it's given us any event log findings. And we can just take that, copy paste it, and submit it in the ticket portal for extra help. So that's really the first use case that we've built into this skill. Cortex can just be this amazing assistant both for the target endpoints, the Omnata app, and the Snowflake platform. And it's a huge value unlock. If you're an existing customer, we'd love you to try it. We'd love to hear your feedback, and we'd love to see a support ticket come through that's come from the Omnata skill. And we've got lots of other ideas of what these Cortex skills can do. The next step is really how do we start to use the stored procedure interface to automate actions based on the context of what's happening. So those will be coming in a later release. Thanks for checking this out, and if you want to ask any further questions, feel free to get in touch.